Just want to quote the first verse or so of what we heard in the first reading. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, so Jeremiah is saying, God spoke to me and said this, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you. On January 22nd, last month, coinciding with the 46th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion throughout the land, New York State Senate passed a radical pro-abortion bill that would allow unborn babies to be aborted for any reason up to birth. The vote, 34 to 28 or something like that, brought applause from those legislators that voted for it. Pause about that. Applause. And then I think the Assembly had already passed it or passed it shortly afterwards. And then a few hours later, Governor Cuomo signed the bill legalizing abortion for any reason up to birth in the state of New York. And he hopes other states will follow New York's example and pass similar pro-abortion laws. Virginia already is in the midst of that. Rhode Island, Vermont, New Mexico are considering it. And the governor says, quote, with the signing of this bill, we are sending a clear message that whatever happens in Washington, women in New York State will always have a fundamental right to control their own body. There's another body, though, the body of the unborn child, who has a right to life. And also, in the discussion, I've not heard it, doesn't mean it's not been said, the pro-abortion side, the right of the father is never considered. The so-called, it's called the Reproductive Health Act, goes beyond Roe v. Wade. It was promoted in the media as a law that would simply codify that Supreme Court ruling. However, there are three aspects of the law that the media never got around to mentioning, or very rarely. One, the right to terminate a pregnancy up to the moment of birth. That includes third trimester, obviously. Second, the right to allow babies born alive because of a botched abortion to die unattended by the staff. There's a baby, survived abortion, it's living, it's breathing. That's infanticide. Infanticide, okay? And the right for non-physicians to perform abortions. That's what the law allows, and other things as well. Now, New York pro-lifers had fought successfully for more than a decade to defeat the radical pro-abortion bill. However, the November election put pro-abortion Democrats in control of both houses, and so they were able to vote the bill. New York State Right of Life warned, that isn't sad, cry, what the new law would mean for babies and mothers. I'll explain that a bit later, but promised to continue fighting for their defense. Quote, we will continue to work to expose the misinformation brought about by the RHA, Reproductive Health Act, protect children and their mothers, and protect the rights of pro-life persons to engage in life-saving activities and to express their views, and to continue to fight to build a culture of life in New York State. Now, the law appears to restrict late-term abortions, third trimester, but it adds a broad health exception for abortions after 24 weeks. The exception would allow women to abort unborn babies up to 9 months of pregnancy for basically any reason, including age, economic, social, and emotional factors, according to the New York Right to Life organization. And here is the crux of everything. It redefines a person as a human being who has been born and is alive. A person is a child born alive. That's when they become a person. That's what the law says. That is philosophically absurd and scientifically untenable. It's not rooted in truth, science or philosophy or morality. Okay? So what is the child a day before the mother goes into labor? Not a person. What is that child before we're in labor? Not a person. The child becomes a person after they're born? That's absurd. Who imparts personhood to the child? The mother or the couple decide to have the child, all of a sudden they impart personhood? It's philosophically, again, absurd. It's scientifically untenable. It just isn't reality. And yet it's the foundation of the law. And that's why pro-abortion side always emphasizes the right of the woman to reproductive health, freedom. They dare not cross into the, well, what is the life in the womb? Once you admit it's human, the entire edifice of abortion has to collapse, I would think. Okay? So that is a critical evil error. New York State Right for Life also fears the legislation poses serious dangers to women's rights and lives as well. By removing protections from illegal abortions, which would be third trimester and maybe into the second, the law would open the door for abuses. According to that, the New York Right to Life, it's not impossible that back alley abortionists, this is what started the whole thing in the 60s and 70s, abusive parents and partners or others will no longer face charges for illegally killing an unborn baby, even if the mother wants the child. Right now, if someone shoots a woman who's pregnant and kills her and the baby, it's a double homicide. That's a fascinating, interesting thing. Double homicide. The law, in that case, admits there's two persons, the mother and the baby in the womb. Other aspects say, no, the baby's not a person. But that particular part of the law says, yeah, it is. Interesting. Here's an example. In early December, a resident of Saratoga County was arrested for punching the stomach of a woman who was 26 weeks pregnant to cause an miscarriage. He was charged with abortion in the second degree, attempting to cause an abortion. And under the RHA, the attack would not have been charged with a felony, according to Catholic News Service. To reiterate, protection for babies born alive after botched abortions would also end under the bill. Let the baby die. Additionally, the bill says that the state cannot deny, regulate, or restrict abortion, not even for common sense reasons like parental consent of a minor, informed consent. Do you know what you're doing? Have you seen the 4D sonogram? Or limits on taxpayer-funded abortions. Also, the Right to Life organization predicts the bill will lead to the suppression of pro-lifers' freedom of speech and consciences as well. Doctors and nurses who refuse to help abort unborn babies could lose their job, and pro-life advocates could be prosecuted for speaking out for life. Already one of the most pro-abortion states in the country, New York has become even more so. Meanwhile, a new poll indicates this radical pro-abortion legislation is not what Americans want. According to a national poll conducted by the Marist University, 3 in 4 Americans, that's 75%, say abortion should be limited to, at most, the first 3 months of pregnancy. This includes most of those who identify as Republicans, 92%, Independents, 78%, and Democrats, 60%. It also includes more than 6 in 10 who identify as pro-choice on abortion. Those identified say it should be limited earlier the better. 6 out of 10 for those who are pro-choice. The Marist poll follows on the heels of a May 2018 Gallup poll, which found that 53% of Americans oppose all or most abortions. The Judeo-Christian foundations of Western civilization are under constant assault. Redefinition of marriage, gender fluidity, disregard of the proper role of religion in the stability of the republic, denying the foundational principles of the Constitution, all kinds of things are going on that challenge our Western civilization. And this political movement to legislate such an extreme practice of abortion, another devastating attack. In response, I'd like the parish to develop a comprehensive approach. The parish displays affront on the dignity of the unborn child. I envision a fourfold approach. Prayer is always foundational. Also, praying for many things, but praying for those who are obsessed with the death of a baby. There's something humanly evil there, and obviously something satanic there. Something is amiss. I pray for their salvation. I fear for their souls. I do. Prayer, research, study. What's out there? What's going on in Congress? What's going on in the state legislature? What's happening? Communicating that clearly and concisely to the parish, and advocacy. Prayer, study, communication, advocacy. Not just a little committee off to the side, but a committee that would help the parish as a parish see how we can stand against the tide and affirm life. If you wish to help me, let me know. Her confession recently. And I said, well, do you need to forgive anybody? He paused, and the response was, those who voted for the New York abortion law. And he started to cry. He started to cry. He could hardly get through the act of contrition. He just sobbed and sobbed. That's how profoundly that law affected him. Don't know his whole story. He cried. A guy you wouldn't think would cry. That's by his appearance. Wow. Touched his heart. You know, and when we speak the truth in love, there'll be pushback. Oh, there'll be pushback. I'm going to read the whole passage of Jeremiah again, okay? And we now, listen, the word of the Lord came to us. I changed that, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you. A prophet to the nations, I appointed you. We are baptized. We're into the priest, prophet, and king. We share that with Jesus. Now think of what Jeremiah had, the opposition to him, the opposition we will get to defend life, okay? Yes, much support, much opposition. Just listen to the rest of it. But do you gird your loins, get ready for battle. Stand up and tell them all that I command you. This is God's law. Defend life, okay? Be not crushed on their account, as though I would leave you crushed before them. God promises to be with us. For it is I this day who have made you a fortified city, a pillar of iron, a wall of brass, against the whole land, against Judah's kings and princes, against its priests and people. They will fight against you, but not prevail over you. That's hopeful in the fight for life. For I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord.